AuDHD, what is it? Have you heard this word before? Did you feel a little intimidated by it? Are you too confused to even ask what exactly it means? I get it. It's both easy and somewhat difficult. You will discover that there are many contradictory messages associated with AuDHD. The easy part is, the acronym AuDHD stands for Autism and Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. The complex problem is that, despite the fact that autism and ADHD are highly prevalent diagnoses, the two experiences are really different. People with autism tend to be strict and like routine and organization. ADHD, on the other hand, is quite chaotic and loves novelty. That's quite the opposite of the rigidity and structure of autism. When you have ADHD, your autism may cause you to get bored by the routines, while your autism may be overstimulated by your ADHD, and you may feel like you're at battle with yourself all the time. Even though it appears that you are not having any difficulties with either of them, many of us are misdiagnosed for the same reason. We're actually dealing with both, undetected or just misunderstood for a long time, which makes narrowing the diagnosis confusing. Not to mention that until 2013, mental health professionals had not recognized the duo diagnosis with the release of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5. Today we will discuss how being ADHD actually feels and if you recognize yourself in this video. Hello there, I'm Jag. This is a channel for people who suspect they have autism, ADHD, or both. Together, let's explore our brains with curiosity. In this video, I'm going to go over the primary 7 characteristics of autism, and then in the next video for ADHD, I'll also explain to you what it's like to go through both of these things simultaneously when you're ADHD. So don't miss next week's video. The primary characteristic of autism is hypersensitivity or hyposensitivity to sensory input. You have probably heard a lot about hypersensitivity to sensory input, right? Many individuals with autism experience irritation from things like the seam on their socks or the sound of electricity. But there is a negative aspect to that as well, which is hyposensitivity to sensory information. Having a very high pain threshold can be a sign of hyposensitivity to sensory input. Maybe you just do not experience pain as easily as allistic people do. I suffered with that my entire life. When I was 7, I had a broken finger for 10 days before my mother noticed it was black while I was brushing my teeth. Many people with autism are not very sensitive to interoception, which is the ability of our bodies to communicate internally, such as when we are thirsty, hungry, or exhausted. A good majority of people with autism do have a tendency to be either hypersensitive or hyposensitive when it comes to sensory issues, but many of us experience both hyper and hyposensitivity. Anyway, most people know about the main 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. But it turns out there are actually 3 more senses that you might want to be aware of when it comes to autistic hyper or hyposensitivity. They are: proprioception is the awareness of your body and its position in space. Vestibular. This refers to your sense of balance. And interoception, like I mentioned before, it's your body's internal cues. Some autistic folks might be hypersensitive to touch but hyposensitive to sound. Or some autistic folks might be hypersensitive to light touch, but they tend to be hyposensitive to real pain. It's a whole spectrum. There's that word again, spectrum. Common autistic trait number 2, alexithymia. Now, alexithymia is a word to describe when you're not sure what you're feeling. Many autistic folks will be aware that they're experiencing a feeling, but they can't name it, and they're definitely not sure where it's from. Many autistic folks experience alexithymia, which basically looks like knowing that you're feeling something, but you're not sure what that is, and alexithymia can make our third trait so much more complicated. It's different than when hyper-focused. You forget to eat or sleep. So let's dive into that autistic trait. Number 3 is emotional dysregulation. This suggests that we often feel our emotions are beyond our control. Now, no one can control their emotions perfectly, or we would all just be totally happy all of the time, and that's not how life works. But when you experience emotional dysregulation, it feels like there's a light switch in your brain that a toddler is playing with and just flipping it up and down, and up and down, and up and down. One minute you can feel totally content, and everything's okay, and you're safe and sound and happy. Then literally the smallest thing can happen, and it's like the dial gets turned up to 11 and you're just furious or devastated. Or so anxious you can't breathe. Emotional dysregulation sucks, and frankly, it's one of the most disabling parts of my AuDHD. And if you have alexithymia as well, it can make emotional dysregulation so much more confusing, because you'll feel these really big emotions, but you won't be able to name what they are. Am I mad? Am I bored? Am I sad? I don't even know. That is what alexithymia plus emotional dysregulation can look like, and it's very common to experience for a lot of autistic folks. Number 4 is black and white thinking. Many autistic individuals think in black and white, but I don't mean to imply that we are unable to perceive nuance. It's more like either we see all the nuance or we see no nuance, and it's kind of black and white in that sense. And most times if we're going to see all the nuance, it's a very intentional decision to see all the nuance. If we allow our brains to do what they do naturally, a lot of times they tend toward black or white, yes or no, all or nothing thinking. Trait number 5 is stemming. Now, stemming is a human thing. Stemming just means self-stimulatory behavior, and it can look like tons of common day stuff, like shaking your legs in a meeting or twirling your hair, chewing on a pen or pencil, or a big one that I like to do, biting the inside of my mouth because it calms me down and no one sees it. Autistic folks just tend to stim more to get regulated. Plus, many autistic people tend to stim in a full body kind of way, which can look like swaying, jumping, hand flapping, or twirling. Just because our stims tend to be more obvious doesn't mean that they're more unusual. All humans stim. Trait number 6 is meltdowns. Now, meltdowns have been misunderstood for years, and it's time that we set the record straight. Autistic meltdowns are not tantrums. Autistic meltdowns are not manipulation. Autistic meltdowns are not about you. Actually, autistic meltdowns are about our brain feeling like it's on fire. The best way I can describe an autistic meltdown is a lack of control. It's like when you're usually living your life, and you've got a game controller, and you're like, okay, I will walk over here, and I will drink that coffee, and I will text that friend, and you're controlling everything when everything is okay. In an autistic meltdown, it's like someone yanks the controller out of your hand, throws it on the floor, and breaks it, and you feel like you're never going to have any control in your life again. Intellectually, I know that the meltdown will end and I will feel okay again, but in that moment, even though I know it in my head, emotionally it doesn't feel like it. I feel so lost, in so much pain. A meltdown actually hurts physically, emotionally, and mentally. It is a painful experience, and we're not doing it on purpose. Believe me, if we could stop feeling this way, we would. Meltdowns can be debilitating and unsafe. Personally, my meltdowns are mostly internal rather than external. But a classic meltdown, an external meltdown, might look like throwing things, breaking things, slamming doors, punching walls, screaming, and even hurting yourself or others. All of that is not about others. It's not to manipulate you. It's not anything like that. It's a total emotional dysregulation. It's a lack of control. Anyways, my meltdowns tend to be internal. It's called a silent meltdown or internalized meltdown, which means I'm doing all of those things, like the throwing things, the breaking things, and the screaming, but it's all in my head. I am yelling at myself, berating myself, and degrading myself, just yelling about what a horrible person I am. Or I could be yelling at somebody else in my head, but I would never dare say it out loud instead of spiraling out of control. It's spiraling down and in, and it's really painful as well. I know it can be safer, which is good, but it still hurts. I only remember a handful of explosive meltdowns as an adult. One more thing I want to mention about meltdowns before we move on is that there's also something called shutdowns. Shutdowns are more dissociative. It's more like, oh, I can't control this. I'm completely turned off. I'm just gone. Many autistic people experience verbal shutdowns, which is where you temporarily lose the ability or capability to speak. So sometimes it's like, okay, I could speak, but it would be so uncomfortable and so hard that it's not worth it. I might give monosyllabic answers at best or shake my head. Other folks go into a shutdown. That's my go-to coping mechanism. It's like autopilot takes over, and they become this weird distant robot version of themselves. And even though shutdowns might be safer than a full-blown meltdown where you could break something or hurt yourself, a shutdown is really detrimental to your sense of self over time, because when you continuously shut down, or shut off when you're in pain, you are disconnecting yourself from yourself, and you're slowly going to lose your sense of identity. Finally, the last trait, number 7, is special interests. Now, special interest sometimes makes it sound like it's just something we're really interested in, but many autistic people are truly truly experts on their areas of expertise. So special interests come from something called monotropic thinking, which is something that's very common in autistic people and sometimes other neurodivergent people as well. And monotropic thinking is basically this. It's the idea that we tend to have very extensive knowledge, very deep knowledge, on just one or two topics. And when I say deep knowledge, again, it is not just like, oh, I know several fun facts about this. I understand this concept with a depth that you would expect from an academic scholar. Now, our special interests aren't always academic in nature, although sometimes they can be. Many autistic people have a special interest in psychology because it helps us learn how to interact with others. That was the case for me, as now neurodivergence is my obsession. I need to learn everything, and I'm bringing you along with me. Other folks have a special interest in plants or bugs, but special interests are a really special part of being autistic. It's something a lot of us really like most of the time, and it brings us a lot of joy to interact with our special interest. We also bring it up a lot to other people, even if they have no interest in it. That's it for now, so the video is not too long. In the next video, I will continue with the traits of ADHD, so stay tuned for the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you identify with any of the traits. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means the world to me. See you on video 2 next week. Thanks.